It was just before dawn in Tangshan, China on July 28, 1976. Families were asleep, unaware that the earth beneath them was storing a terrifying energy. Then, without warning, the ground began to roar. Walls cracked, chimneys toppled, and entire buildings collapsed within seconds. For some, the first shake was the last thing they ever felt. By sunrise, Tangshan, a bustling industrial hub, had been almost completely flattened. Estimates suggest over 240,000 people perished, and the city's infrastructure was devastated. Hospitals, factories, schools, everything was crushed. Roads were impassable, communications severed, and survivors were forced to rely on sheer ingenuity to reach safety. Among the survivors was a man named Li Wei, who spent 6 harrowing hours pulling neighbors from the rubble. He later recalled, "I kept thinking every second counted. You couldn't stop. There were too many trapped, too many lives depending on you." Stories like his turned Tangshan from a statistic into a testament to human resilience. Almost 2 decades earlier, in South America, the Earth unleashed an even greater force. On May 22, 1960, near Valdivia in southern Chile, the planet shook with a magnitude of 9.5, the strongest earthquake ever recorded. For nearly 10 minutes, the ground trembled with such intensity that mountains seemed to sway. Homes crumbled, rivers overflowed, and the terrain itself shifted. The earthquake triggered tsunamis that traveled across the Pacific, striking Hawaii, Japan, the Philippines, and even New Zealand. Waves reached 10 meters in height, sweeping away coastal towns and boats. Over 2,000 people died, but the human toll was magnified by the destruction of homes, bridges, and roads. Entire communities were cut off for weeks. Rescue efforts were complicated by landslides and flooding, yet amid the devastation, human bravery shone. Volunteers risked their lives to search for survivors, and international aid began arriving within days. Valdivia's earthquake also marked a scientific turning point. Researchers carefully studied the quake's aftershocks, revealing critical insights into subduction zones, areas where one tectonic plate slides under another. Chilean engineers began designing buildings with better foundations and shock-absorbing structures, laying the groundwork for modern earthquake-resistant architecture. If you're amazed by how people survive nature's most extreme forces, hit like and subscribe for more incredible disaster stories. 1964, just 4 years later, on March 27, 1964, the United States faced a stark reminder that seismic disasters aren't confined to faraway lands. Prince William Sound in Alaska shook violently with a 9.2 magnitude earthquake, the second largest ever recorded in history. The quake generated tsunamis that raced across the Pacific. Waves hit as far as California, Hawaii, and Japan, destroying docks, homes, and towns along the coast. In Alaska, entire neighborhoods were reduced to rubble. Over 130 people lost their lives, most of them swept away by the sudden tidal waves. What made the Alaskan quake especially remarkable was how it reshaped the land. Some areas sank several meters, others were lifted higher than ever before. Rivers changed course, lakes appeared where none existed, and roads and railways were fractured beyond repair. Scientists flocked to the region, documenting the unprecedented geological changes. This disaster spurred the development of the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, which remains a critical safeguard for coastal communities today. It also inspired a new generation of geologists and engineers, proving that human curiosity often rises from catastrophe. Later that same year, Guatemala faced a devastating 7.5 magnitude earthquake on February 4, 1976, striking the country's highlands. The quake destroyed towns, leaving over 23,000 people dead and hundreds of thousands injured or homeless. Unlike Tangshan or Valdivia, Guatemala's disaster highlighted the vulnerability of rural communities. Many homes were made of adobe, a traditional earth-based material that crumbles easily during seismic activity. Schools, churches, and marketplaces collapsed, cutting off access to vital resources. Aid from around the world poured in, and international organizations began developing modern disaster relief protocols. Guatemala also began implementing stricter building codes, emphasizing reinforced concrete and steel frameworks, particularly in earthquake-prone regions. Survivors tell harrowing stories. A woman named Maria escaped by climbing out of her shattered home and guiding her neighbors to a nearby hillside where makeshift shelters provided some safety. Her story became symbolic of community, resilience amid catastrophe. Even Europe was not immune. On February 20, 1968, the Aegean Sea region was rocked by a 7.2 magnitude earthquake, affecting both Turkey and Greece. Coastal towns crumbled, historic buildings, some centuries old, collapsed, and aftershocks rattled residents for weeks. Unlike other disasters, the Aegean quake emphasized the cultural cost of earthquakes. Ancient churches, libraries, and monuments were destroyed, revealing that protecting human life also meant safeguarding history. Authorities began to consider seismic retrofitting for historical structures, an early example of balancing safety with heritage preservation. Human stories amid destruction. The scale of devastation is unimaginable, but the human stories give it meaning. In Valdivia, a fisherman clung to driftwood as tsunami waves carried him miles from shore. In Tangshan, neighbors risked their lives to dig out trapped families, organized makeshift water distribution points, and helped evacuate elders to safer grounds. These stories remind us that earthquakes are more than geophysical events. They're human experiences testing courage, ingenuity, and resilience. If these acts of courage inspire you, comment below with the earthquake story that moved you the most. Your thoughts could feature in our next video. Global awareness, though separated by continents and years, these events are interconnected. They show that the lessons from one disaster can help protect communities thousands of miles away. They also reveal a universal truth: humans live on a restless planet, and the ground beneath us can change in an instant. Knowledge, preparation, and science are our best defenses. Share this video to spread awareness. The more people understand these disasters, the better prepared our communities will be when the next earthquake strikes. Looking back, the earthquakes of the 1960s and 1970s were catastrophic, but they also shaped human understanding, resilience, and innovation. From Chile to Alaska, Tangshan to Guatemala, humanity faced the Earth's fury, and in the process learned how to survive it. By studying these past events, we not only understand the planet better, but we also learn about ourselves, our capacity for courage, community, and adaptation. If you want to continue exploring the forces that shape our world and the incredible stories of those who endure them, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because while earthquakes may strike without warning, knowledge and preparation can make the difference between life and death.